My next guest is Baruti Kafele. He is a highly regarded urban educator from New Jersey who has been in education for over 20 years. Principal Baruti Kafele distinguished himself as a master teacher and transformational school leader. As an elementary school teacher, he was a New Jersey State Teacher of the Year finalist and recipient of the New Jersey Education Association Award of Excellence. As a middle and high school principal, Principal Kafele led turnaround of 4 different New Jersey urban schools. One of the most sought after school leadership and classroom equity presenters in America, Principal Kafele is impacting America's schools. He has delivered over 2,000 conference and program keynotes and professional development workshops. Principal Kafele is a leading authority for providing effective classroom and school leadership strategies toward closing what he coined the attitude gap. He has authored 12 books, including 7 ASCD bestsellers. Some of his books are Motivating Black Males to Achieve in School and in Life, Closing the Attitude Gap, Is My School a Better School Because I Lead It, The Teacher 50, The Principal 50, The Assistant Principal 50, and his newest release, The Equity and Social Justice Education 50. Principal Kafele is also the creator and host of the popular Virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy, streamed live every Saturday morning on his Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel and other social media platforms at 10:55 Eastern. Well, welcome to the podcast, Principal Kafele.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Well, tell me about a time when you were in the trenches and managed to crawl out.
Yeah, I've got a few, but the one that really stands out for me and the one that I haven't talked about as much as I need to, and I'm not going to get so deep into it because it's lengthy, but being at odds with a superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
One of my superintendents that I kind of inherited, we just didn't see the world the same way. And my career was on a upward trajectory until then.
Mm-hmm.
And to make a very long story short, because we clashed and because I stood my ground and he stood his ground, I was up for termination. I was suspended because we clashed. I had a termination hearing coming that following week, and I happened to have a new book out, and I was on a popular radio station in New York City, and which is the media for New Jersey, and it was a talk show. And because the parents got through to express their outrage of what was happening to me, it became a bigger news story. So the news covered it for about a week, and then my hearing came, and I was told to report to work the next day.
Mm-hmm.
The board voted unanimously that I had done nothing wrong at all. Just stood man to man, toe to toe with my boss. So 5 years later, I received the Milken Award,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the highest awards that you can receive as an educator. And it's an example of standing firm on what you believe, despite whatever the consequences may be, and then being rewarded for it later on when you don't even realize the reward is coming. Just continuing to do the work according to how you believe it should be done relative to the people that you're leading. And hence here came this great award, this great recognition, this great acknowledgement for my work. When that, compared to when that situation occurred, it was the lowest point of my career and probably of my personal life. But because it was so overwhelming and everybody knew about it because I was the headline story. But I overcame it, and here I stand today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that a few times on your show, but just going through those situations where, you do have a supervisor and doesn't see eye to eye with you, and you stood your ground, right? And this, you have that support of the community because they knew you were a great principal at that school.
That's right.
Yeah. So I talked a little bit in the bio about your AP Leadership Academy, and I've been following it ever since you started it. And as far as I remember, it was originally only supposed to run for 10 episodes. So you do it every week consistently, even if you were traveling and had a keynote, you schedule around your academy time. Now it's gone for 127 weeks. So what keeps you going?
Yeah, it's amazing that something that I started just to last for a summer
Mhm.
has now consumed a lot of my life, because the planning, it
Mhm.
probably looks
Yeah.
very easy on Saturday morning, but the fact of the matter is a week's worth of planning goes into something that I don't get compensated for.
Mhm.
But the biggest joy of my week and my work professionally is the Saturday Academy, the virtual AP Leadership Academy. And the reason is very simple. Everywhere else that I speak, folks, if it's a conference, then and I happen to be the keynoter, then
Mhm.
folks are just going to gravitate to the general session regardless of who's speaking. If I'm in a school district, then the folks are forced to hear me. But Saturday morning, that's a conscious decision that everybody makes that comes on or watches the video live, which is where most of the views come from, the people who watch throughout the week and so forth. But those are people who made a decision that I want to listen to this content being delivered by Principal Kafele. And for that reason, that's the fuel that keeps me fired up to want to continue to do it, to say to clients, I will not speak at your conference if it interferes with my academy, because
Mhm.
quite frankly, my academy is more important to me than
Mhm.
your conference and the compensation that you will give me. So
Mhm.
that's because, and the reason is because of I know it's benefiting people, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't tune in, they wouldn't watch the videos. But because people tune in live, because people watch the video live, and because of my agenda, my objective for it, which is the assistant principalship, to make sure that that position is relevant, that's not a position that folks are just disciplining kids all day or supervising cafeterias, but they're doing substantive work as it relates to instructional leadership. That's what
Mhm.
keeps me fired up.
Mhm. Mhm. And I have seen like a pattern in who you decide to interview. So most recently, you've been talking to first year principals and kind of that transition from the AP role to principals. So
Yeah.
how far out do you make plans for guests, and are you now kind of going off of a theme on who to interview?
Yeah, I'm trying to read the audience and bring in people who can speak to topics that my audience would want to hear. Like the one I just did this past Saturday, the numbers are incredible in terms of where today is Wednesday, and
Mhm.
just so many people are watching this, navigating assistant principal leadership frustration,
Mhm.
discouragement, and disappointment. I didn't know that was going to go over so big because it's a negative topic,
Yeah.
but everybody's watching it. And like I
Mhm.
said, on Saturday, I've got 90 items and I only covered 17 of them. So I'm going to have
Mhm.
to do this over the course of 3 or 4 subsequent sessions. But in terms of who I bring on, I'm looking at the audience, I'm reading the comments. So, and I'm trying to keep it as diverse as I can, but I also know who's predominantly watching in terms of who shows up on the thread. I don't know who's watching. It doesn't make themselves known, but we're trying to, want to make sure that I've got just diversity in terms of who's there, because I know I got diversity in terms of who's watching. So we got a good lineup of people. We're actually booked until next summer.
Wow.
A lot of people reach out to me and they want to get on, and I say, yeah, well, you're gonna have to wait till like June or July, and because it's I'm booked, which is a good thing.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I've had some of your previous guests on. Either I've known them from mastermind groups I've been in, or I've got an idea to interview some guests after hearing them on your academy. So it's reciprocal, and I really enjoy the conversation, whether it's just you just speaking or you having that conversation and asking your rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
If you don't mind just kind of giving the audience a sense for a few of your rapid fire questions and why that's important to you, to get those answers from the guests.
Yeah, it's and I don't think I've ever really told anybody why I do it. But
Mm-hmm.
but the why is I want to see how authentic you are with these
Mm-hmm.
particular questions. And if you've got to give it a lot of thought, then chances are that question is really not you. It's
Mm-hmm.
not something that you've embraced. So, so when I ask you if true equity can occur in
Mm-hmm.
American schools, if you've got to think about that, then you're not really thinking about that, right? If this is something that's dear to you, then you've got that answer.
Yeah.
If I ask you what you're reading, a lot of like I'm always kind of semi uncomfortable asking that question live because the person may not be reading anything. And these sessions are not designed to catch people or to put them on the spot. But then I said, as an educator, we got to be reading something. It doesn't have to be a book. You know, it could be an article. You know, it could be a blog, a 100-word blog. You know, reading something. And if you sit, you know, I haven't had anybody yet to say nothing. But if someone is a guest and you call yourself a leader and you're reading nothing, then that means you gotta go to the mirror and ask yourself, you know, what's happening in my life that I'm leading, but I'm not reading anything toward growing.
Yes, definitely. Like you said, it could just be an article. Educational leadership from ASCD always has great articles. Just books out there that are coming out, and that's kind of my next question. So I mentioned your last two books were published in 2021 and 2020, respectively, The Assistant Principal 50 and Equity and Social Justice 50. On your show, you've been talking about being on contract with ASCD to write some more books. And you've mentioned recently that you just finished a manuscript of one of those books. So talk a little bit about what you can share so far.
Yeah, it's you know, I do a little motivational / commentary on the Saturday Academy before we started. And for about 30 weeks, every one of those commentaries was prefaced with the word protecting. So protecting your truth, protecting your leadership identity, protecting your happiness, your joy, your integrity, and so on and so forth. So I got to thinking that that's pretty important. And I said, what else can a leader protect as it relates to their leadership? And I generated a list of about 125 different things. So I consolidated it down to 105.
Okay.
And I thought I was going, and I thought I was going to do 100 and do 2 books, 50-50, because all my books end with the number 50. But as I was writing the first volume, Protecting Your Assistant Principal Leadership Effectiveness, I said, man, I can't do this in 50 questions because I've far exceeded my goal of 25,000 words because I keep my books short. So I decided to do 35, and we'll go 35 for 105. And it's, you know, this whole idea of protecting is something that I don't think that we talk a lot about. We talk about growth and development. But we don't talk about protecting it once you've got it. You know, we may even use the word sustaining it, but I'm not making sustaining synonymous with protecting. So I'm saying here with protecting, you got to guard it. Like you've attained it. Now you got to guard it. You got to shield it. You got to protect it. And not allow something or someone to take it from you or to break it down or whatever the case may be. So it's a different kind of communication under the umbrella of leadership. And I was talking to the publisher about it yesterday, as a matter of fact, and you know, they're pretty excited about the prospects for this idea, this book. So I'm looking forward. It'll be out in May of 2023.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're really excited to get that, and I know there'll be a bunch of pre-orders for that when it comes out. Yeah. So you've been speaking for a while. I think it's now about 15-16 years since you left the principalship, correct?
11 years since 11. I left, and speaking for about 36 years, but 11 years as this independent sole source of income speaker, left in 2011, my principalship.
So what gets you fired up, and what's your favorite thing about being in front of a room full of school leaders or teachers, educators in general?
Yeah, you know, the fired up part is just a continuation of the work as a teacher and a principal, having the ability to teach and inspire. That's, you know, that's my lane. That's my thing. That's what I enjoy doing. Where it gets dicey is when I'm dealing with uncomfortable topics. You know, if I'm dealing with a topic that everybody can embrace, you know, leadership in the very generic sense, there's no issue there. But if I'm dealing with equity, for example, and I'm in a space where everybody can't embrace equity, then you lose some of that enjoyment with doing it, because now it is work. It's that same, just that same enjoyment and satisfaction is just not there, because it's almost as if you're in a tension-filled room, you're in enemy territory, so to speak, and you're competing. What I love and what keeps me fired up is when I can go in and I can teach, that I can go in and I can inspire. But when I gotta lock horns, I'm not going to say I don't get any benefit out of locking horns. That's that, you grow from that too. That's a good thing. But it's when it gets to the point when it becomes disrespectful, then then I got to find that fire somewhere else.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about kind of seeing that, right? When you're going in front of a school district, and you're talking about some of those cases, some of those to do with race and equity, and you can kind of tell the vibe of the audience.
Folks are liable to say anything in some of those places, so you just have to, you got to kind of be ready for it, anticipate it, and then, you deal with it while maintaining your professionalism.
So one of your most notable sayings on your Saturday show is "I'm on fire," and sometimes you have to tone that down if you're in a hotel room. And you moved from speaking in front of large audiences to speaking in front of the computer during the pandemic, and so that's what you do on those Saturday shows. You're just speaking to the computer. So what ignites that passion to be able to be on fire in front of the computer screen, and how do you take that passion from the stage to the webcam?
Yeah, it's I tell folks, especially when I'm talking to my speaker colleagues, there's something about being able to see the comments while you're speaking. See, when you're on Zoom, depending on if it's in webinar setting or virtual setting, whatever it is, you may not be able to see the comments. So I could be speaking to some large audience of folks, because now, with Zoom, you can speak to thousands of people. But I don't know how I'm being received. So I can't elevate the passion, the fire, the excitement, the enthusiasm, because I don't know where I am. I'm just sitting here literally in this space and just talking. But on a Saturday, I can see the comments. I can see the emojis. When I'm on Zoom and it's not in that webinar mode, I can see their comments. So if they're saying to me, preach, if they're saying to me, amen, if they're saying to me, I'm feeling you, those types of just affirmation, then I know I can go higher. I can get louder. I can bring that energy. I can bring that fire and still bring good content at the same time, but being able to be my authentic self as a speaker. But if I can't see that or hear that or sense that, then it's almost like I'm just going to stay kind of right here and do a whole presentation, and then someone will write me later and say what was wrong, because they expect something different, right? Nothing was wrong. I didn't have the feedback. So when I'm with a live audience, speakers, and perhaps this, we look for the amen corner. We literally seek it out, like where is it in this room? I know it's somewhere. And then when you find it, you got two audiences in the room. You got your broader audience, but then you got that amen corner audience, and you find yourself speaking to them a lot, right? Because they're giving you the head nod, they're giving you the approval, they're saying, yeah, you're there. So then you're able to continue to increase and expand that energy and that passion, because you got them people rocking with you the whole way. So when you're in those spaces, and I'm talking about the live audience now, and you've got that variety of amen corners in the room, or maybe that whole audience has decided we all want to make you aware that we are riding with you. Now they're yours. So you can go wherever. So it's it's reading the room. It's doing the audience analysis and knowing where you are. And that audience will tell you, what you can do, what the parameters are, etc. If one is skilled in reading a room. Some rooms I just lay back. Some rooms I'll use a podium, because I'm not a podium guy, but some rooms I say, okay, no need to wander the room. No need to walk across the stage. Just stay right here at this podium and speak to the folks this way, because this is this is how they want to receive it. I think
Mm-hmm.
that, and then you get the standing ovation, and you say, "Oh, I was right." They all they needed was for me to just keep it real plain and simple. Just stay here at this podium and talk to them just like this, with good content, and they receive it the same way as if you did one of them hype presentations with all that, all that flair and pizzazz, and you get the same response.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I sometimes when you've been traveling during the week and you have your Saturday show, you always give your information to the audience that you've spoken to in person, but you'll tell them, this might be a little bit different than how you saw me on the
Yeah,
stage.
right. Because I could have been at one of them places where I was just standing at the podium for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come on here with a Negro Leagues baseball jersey and I'm on fire. Right. So they're like, whoa, that's not the dude I just saw yesterday. That's something a little bit different, So I want them to know, right, from the top that this is different because I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
This is my platform now.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Out of everything we've talked about, and if there's something you'd like listeners to know that we haven't discussed, what would you like them to hear about?
Just whatever it is that you're pursuing in life,
Mm-hmm.
give it maximum effort.
Yeah.
Maintain a work-life balance for sure.
Yeah.
Self-care is important, but the competition's out there working, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not putting forth that effort into whatever your craft is, or this craft you're creating for yourself, do know the competition is out there doing that which you should be doing for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say, whatever it is, this is all I've wanted to do. I say to people all the time, there's a million things I probably could do, but there's only one thing that I want to do, and I'm walking in it every day right now as I speak. This is
Mm-hmm.
this is my lane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
and I know you talk about that in some of those AP interview
Yeah.
videos that you do, right? Like just those things that not everybody thinks about when they go into interviews, and like the competition is doing that. So,
Right. Right.
well, where can people connect with you and find you online?
Yeah, just go to principalkafele.com, and on the homepage, you'll see all my social media platforms. I don't have Instagram and LinkedIn on the website because I'm just really getting into those, but
Mm-hmm.
and I'm only on them sporadically, but Facebook and Twitter, those are where I spend, YouTube, those are where I spend my virtual time. So just go to principalkafele.com and you'll see all that there. But LinkedIn is at Principal Kafele, and Instagram is at Principal Kafele, although the username is Million Mile Man. That's one of my hashtags. And that speaks to the fact that I've flown over 1 million miles over the past 11 years. So I'm the Million Mile Man.
Well, thank you so much for being on the Out of the Trenches podcast today. It was a pleasure having you on.
Pleasure being here. I thank you for the opportunity.